All right, let's dive right into this explainer of what's new in Claude Code version 2.1.200. Look, if you spend your days building, debugging, and collaborating with AI, you already know that reliability isn't just a nice-to-have feature, right? It's literally everything. So this release is a major maintenance and reliability update, and it's designed specifically to give you more control and absolute stability in your coding environment. We're going to walk through exactly what's changed, how it actually impacts your daily workflow, and why these under-the-hood improvements are going to save you a ton of headaches.
Now, before we get into the heavy bug squashing and stability metrics, I want to tease that there are exactly two intentional behavioral changes in this update. Yep, just two. But these two changes, they're going to immediately impact your daily coding workflow and fundamentally shift how you interact with the system's permissions. Here is our quick agenda for today. 1. Welcome to version 2.1.200. 2. Two key behavioral changes. 3. Bulletproof background agent fixes. And 4. Accessibility and quality upgrades. Section 1. Welcome to version 2.1.200.
Section 2. Two key behavioral changes.
Okay, so our first major change is really all about clarity. You know that permission mode we previously called default? Well, it's now officially been renamed to manual. And this rename is reflected everywhere you interact with it, whether you're hanging out in the command line interface, checking the -- help output, or using your VS Code and JetBrains plugins. The word default was honestly just a bit ambiguous, right? I mean, it almost implied that the system might just go ahead and do things automatically on its own. So by renaming it to manual, the system is being incredibly clear about who's actually in the driver's seat.
But hey, don't panic. The crucial point here is that this is a non-breaking change. I know, whenever I hear configuration rename, my own panic sets in about broken workflows, but relax, you're good. Both the old -- permission mode manual and your existing configuration files that use the value default mode set to manual will still work perfectly, so no need to scramble and update your configs right this second. The new name just better signals that you are strictly in control of approving actions rather than implying some sort of permissive default state. Moving on, the second behavioral change hits those ask user question dialogues. Picture this. Claude Code presents you with a question, you step away to grab a quick coffee, and in the past, the system would eventually just time out and auto-continue without you. Yeah, not anymore. The new default is that it actually waits for your input. That old auto-continue behavior is now completely off by default. However, if you actually liked that old timeout behavior and you want your sessions to just proceed without your direct input, you aren't locked out. You can easily toggle it right back on via the /config command.
All right, Section 3, Bulletproof Background Agent Fixes. Just to make absolutely sure we're all on the same page before we get into the bugs, daemons, and lock files run under the hood to keep your background sessions alive. Think of them as the invisible workers managing your long-running tasks and making sure different instances of the program don't trip over each other. Previously, these background systems were prone to some pretty rogue behaviors, which led to super frustrating session failures. Let me ask you, have you ever closed your laptop mid-task, gone to a meeting, and returned only to find a completely frozen session? Ugh, the worst. Well, this update fixes exactly that. Those silent mid-turn stops caused by laptop sleep and wake cycles, entirely resolved. Furthermore, if you hit the escape key to cancel a turn and the session later respawned, it used to incorrectly rerun that canceled turn. That's fixed now too. And for those of you tired of visual clutter, they've also cleaned up an annoying issue where raw control bytes from background agents were leaking directly into your terminal UI.
Now, this next fix is a piece of genuinely elegant engineering. Previously, if Claude Code crashed, it could leave behind this stale daemon.lock file. If your operating system later reused that exact same process ID for a totally different program, your background agents would be permanently blocked from starting. It was a nightmare. Additionally, if you reinstalled an older version of Claude Code, it could literally execute a hostile takeover of the daemon from your newer version. Crazy, right? To solve both of these massive headaches, the system now ingeniously checks an embedded build timestamp. By judging build recency and legitimate ownership through this timestamp, stale lock file blocks and older build takeovers are completely prevented.
Rounding out the background fixes, we have some fantastic quality-of-life error handling. Previously, if a subagent was interrupted by a rate limit before it could even produce text, it just returned an empty result, leaving you totally guessing what went wrong. Now, they fail with a clean, descriptive error, plus a whole host of transient corruption bugs.
like issues permanently disabling orphan cleanup, older binaries overriding newer fields, and socket-off tokens randomly being stripped during daemon restarts, have all been successfully squashed.
Which brings us to Section 4, Accessibility and Quality Upgrades.
When it comes to accessibility, the screen reader output is vastly improved, and this is just a huge win for developers relying on assistive technologies. Those decorative glyphs that just add unnecessary noise, they are now hidden from screen readers. Transcript symbols are seamlessly translated into short, human-readable labels. Complex nested tables are no longer a jumbled mess when read aloud. They're parsed logically as header value lines. And finally, the /MCP server list now properly tracks focus for both screen readers and screen magnifiers. It just makes the entire interface significantly more inclusive and functional for everyone. Daily quality of life takes a leap forward here too. If you happen to use voice dictation, you are going to be thrilled to know that the system no longer throws that false, misleading voice connection failed error when your recording simply didn't capture any audio. And for my terminal power users out there, that rendering flicker in tmux version 3.4 and later is officially cured by enabling synchronized terminal output. They've also resolved a really frustrating bug with the Claude Agents -- pluginder flag placement, and Project Scope plugins now correctly and reliably load from Git work trees of the same repository. Finally, wrapping up our bug fixes, they've resolved a super specific startup crash that occurred if your .claude.json file had MCP server settings set to a non-array value. And importantly, if you're setting up a new environment and your install script fails simply because your system ran out of memory, it won't just silently fail on you anymore. The installer will now explicitly tell you that it was killed due to an out-of-memory or error. That alone is going to save you hours of troubleshooting time. So, with all these incredible stability, background agent, and accessibility improvements firmly locked in place, it brings us right back to that very first major update we discussed. By renaming default to manual and stopping those auto-continue behaviors, the tool is quite literally handing the keys directly back to you. If you want to explore plain English guides on everything we covered in this explainer today, absolutely head over to claudemaster.net or check out the official GitHub repository for the full detailed changelog. But I'm going to leave you with this final thought. With a newly bulletproof background daemon and perfectly clear permission states, are you finally ready to embrace the new manual mode and take total, uncompromising command of your workflow?